This is my podcast. This is my show. This is what I've been planning to do for many, many years. And finally, 2020 is the time to do this. So really excited about having a special guest on today. We'll get to that in a second. But anything you want to comment on, or if you want to call in, leave a message, we have a Google Voice message system there. Google Voice 716-253-1870. You can do it pre or post show. It doesn't matter. So, or even live while we're doing this. So we're on YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter live. And we also post this on the Facebook page, but it's not live on Facebook. It's the link for the YouTube live. Then being a part of the show, if you want to come on, if you want to talk, we have this lovely platform that you can come on to. So, but check out all the links, all the comments you want to make on all the social media I got right down in the bottom scroll, if your screen can pick it up. Plus, we have all the links on ShawnPGreene.com for everything right here. You see all the different ways you can watch the different social media. You can send money. You can watch old video streams that I've done of other shows, platforms, and snippets. Audio stream the podcast. And of course, we have a blog. But I also have this IMDb. Anybody know what that is? That is the Internet Movie Database, if I'm not mistaken. So, but we have a special guest on the show that that I personally had met last year in Orlando, Florida, at the International Christian Film Festival, which is, I think, probably the best platform for Christian film networking, releasing, just everything, all kinds of neat ideas in the Christian music and film industry, kind of conglomerate. So they kind of work hand in hand. So Cheryl Felicia Rhoads is my guest, and here she is. Let me just take this off. How you doing, Cheryl? How's your day so far?
Well, actually, it's been good.
Good.
I hit the ground running this morning, and one of my films just took second place in another Christian festival last night. So that was fun, and it won Best Film and Screenplay and Acting Awards 3 weeks ago at another festival. So it's been a fun time.
That's awesome. So, long story short, on our connection, we met at International Christian Film Festival.
That's right.
And we were kind of sitting in on talents of people that were singing. I think some were rapping, but it was just kind of like a little display of talent. Maybe it was monologues. Maybe the one I was with you. They had a couple different sessions, but one of the sessions was auditioning. I think it was that I met you at.
That's right.
And and when you're in a room, especially a small room, it's a little easier to kind of see who's who or whatever, and connect the dots as to who does what.
Mm-hmm.
And I just immediately was drawn to you because I just felt like you are a figurehead somehow in the industry. I was ignorant. I had no idea. I didn't know what to expect. So I knew I had to connect with you. I knew I had to talk to you for whatever reason. And we'll get into the reason why in a second.
Mm-hmm.
But let's just talk real quick. Give me a brief introduction as far as your background in the industry as a whole.
Okay, very good. I'm now in the Washington, D.C. area, Northern Virginia, specifically Falls Church. I have an acting school where I've had over 6,000 students of all ages, 8 to 80. But I relocated here from Los Angeles, and before that, from Chicago. I was in the Second City, a comedy troupe there, but I was also half of a comedy team called The Fine Line. And we did sketches about human relationships. And the actor McLean Stevenson, who was on the TV show MASH and quite the celebrity back in the day in the late 70s, 80s, he saw our act. We did a local TV special, and he brought us out to LA. He had Barry Gordy, from Motown, and a bunch of people from Willie Morris see us. Willie Morris signed us, and Berry Gordy hired us to be on the Motown Review with Smokey Robinson. I was the only
Hmm.
woman writer on that show, but I got to
Wow.
perform with Ray Charles and just a bunch of folks. And of course, and Arsenio Hall was also on that show.
Hmm.
And from there, I did guest stars on a lot of TV shows, including Saved by the Bell. And I was a series regular on a TV show called Against the Grain on NBC with Ben Affleck. And that show, yeah, there's my IMDb page, and that was produced by Dave Allen Johnson, who's done a lot of shows for Hallmark and various things, and been involved in various Christian projects himself. And so that, I was doing all that there, and I did theater, and I've won some awards along that line. But then I'm the youngest of 6 kids, 20-year age range between me and my oldest sister, and I've always been very close to my family. And in LA was starting to just get, and it's always been edgy, but beyond edgy. And I was getting scripts not only for adults, but younger kids where I was coaching and stuff for myself that I thought, not doing this. And I actually turned down 16 jobs before I moved out of LA.
Wow.
And so I came here to Falls Church so I could be closer to my older brother, Mark. Mark's a former state senator, and he was an editorial writer for the Chicago Sun-Times. And so we've always been very close. He's 7 years older than I am, but we're the closest in age range. So I moved here and started all over again, with my school, and I have a small production company. And now I'm working with some friends in LA on some exciting projects. And that's, and then I'll wrap it up. But I was just going to say, one of the things we found through the pandemic, you can do stuff anywhere. Doesn't have to be LA or New York. And I think people have really, I realized that, Shawn, when I was at your festival, that all these things were coming up from Manhattan to your area and Buffalo. And so it's exciting, because there's different projects everywhere. And I totally agree with everything you said about the Florida Festival. But anyway, so that's my background, and I'm teaching, and I'm still acting. I do a lot of voiceover work. And I'm in a feature film that's going to come out in the fall called Billy and Blaze, which is finally coming out. We just finished it right before the pandemic. And I'm going to be working on some other projects that I can't talk about just yet, but I will be able to in a future podcast.
I know that you and I will eventually have something that we'll work on together.
Absolutely.
Whenever that's going to happen, who knows? But
absolutely.
But
I just have to tell the audience, it was so funny because I remember I was walking and all of a sudden I turned around, you were there, and you said, "Hi, I'm Shawn." And I want to talk to you. Because even though Rhoads is my English part of the family, I have an Irish background. I said, any guy named Shawn, gotta talk to. So.
Well, obviously, you were from Chicago, and there is a lot of Irish American heritage.
There are.
In Chicago. I think half the cops 100 years ago were Irish.
Absolutely, and they dye the River Greene.
More.
They dye the River Greene every St. Patrick's Day.
And I would say, and this could be a controversial subject, but I would say maybe Chicago is the 3rd biggest St. Patrick's Day celebration in the U.S. That's
the bigger one being New York.
I would say New York, maybe Boston's real close 3rd.
Oh yeah.
4th.
Yeah, and it always depends sometimes who's in power locally. We had, Irish mayors for a long time, and so when that changed up, there wasn't as much of an investment. I'll never forget, though, my brother, when he was in the Senate, we were friends with the late Harold Washington, who was the first Black mayor of Chicago. And my brother and Harold had served in the legislature together. Mark was a senator and he was a rep. And anyway, it's going to be, Harold passed away a few years ago, but it's going to be the anniversary of his 100th birthday. Anyway, we all marched in the St. Patrick's Day parade together. And that was quite an experience. So everybody becomes Irish, You know, my
Right.
Protestant friends, my Jewish friends, my, Indian
Mm.
friends, they all become Irish on St. Patrick's
And there,
Day.
that's a very interesting thing that of all the nationalities in the world, everybody is proud to become Irish for a day,
Indeed,
which is
indeed.
weird. You know, I don't
One of my
understand that,
best
but
friends, who's Jewish, her husband was the voice of Teddy Ruxpin and various characters for Disney. And I introduced them back in
mm,
1979. She loves St. Patrick's Day. She always
very
wants
cool.
to have a St. Patrick's Day party.
Well, I didn't really intend on going in that direction right
Well, it is
away,
the
but
beginning of March. It's the beginning of
sure,
March.
we're
So
getting close to it. About 16 more days. But
there you
I am
go.
wearing actually South Buffalo roots, which
Hmm.
is in this part of town, we have an actual street that's an Irish heritage district.
I remember that.
So we
I
have
remember that.
that in common. I did kind of bring it around a little bit when you
Yeah.
came out. But yeah, we have this here. But just to finish, the second biggest St. Patrick's Day celebration, believe it or not, if anybody has not been there, there's a little pause. I'm sorry. Was or is in Savannah, Georgia. There was a huge population of Irish that settled down there that
Really?
did not settle in the north, in the northeast, in the Midwest. So if you look at
Well,
it, you got to go
then
to Savannah, Georgia one day.
that is so great to hear. I mean, because I say just last night, my movie Such a Good Boy won an award there in Georgia. So hey, I
Very
should have
good.
asked them about their. I'm having a bangs problem here. You know, with women, we don't like it
I
when
have a
our
bad
bangs,
hair day too, but I
you
put
know,
the
the
hat
bad.
on
Well,
to
it's just the
cover it.
bangs are misbehaving. So what can you do? All right.
Well, my mullet is acting up, so I got to keep it in the back here.
Well, there you go. And you got to do an emergency call to Billy Ray Cyrus, who I worked for too.
Oh, really cool. Very
Well, I
well.
didn't.
Listen,
What I did was there was a show called Doc that Dave
yeah.
Johnson, who did Against the Grain, um, was doing, and Billy Ray Cyrus was the lead in that. And what I was hired to play the Doc Insider. And what I would do is I would interview all the cast members, producers, and writers, and they would show the show, and then they'd re-show it with the Doc Insider. Like, for example, see that young girl standing by Billy Ray Cyrus in this scene? That's his daughter. What's her name? Ah, Hannah Montana.
Oh, Miley.
Miley. I was going
Yeah.
to say Miley, and I went, that's not right. Oh, well, maybe it's the hat. But yeah, so I would do that, and I would and it was great because Canada or Toronto, where they were filming, were, different time frame from LA. And so I'd get to call people at night and interview them. So anyway, Billy Ray Cyrus
Hmm.
on Doc, I worked there too. And he had a mullet.
Yeah. Well, I think that's when he transitioned also from being exclusively in a secular, industry to working in faith-based
That's
projects.
right.
I
You're
remember
exactly
him.
right.
I remember him years ago when he had his first, like, I guess his first year being Christian. They asked him to be on the Dove Awards to present best band or new artist or something like that. And I think Zoe Girl was the band that won. And he looked confused a little bit because I don't think he knew the culture yet.
Uh-huh.
Similarly to even Steve Harvey when he was saved, didn't really know all the people yet, the players.
Right.
But Billy Ray Cyrus pronounced it. He goes Zoe Girl because he didn't know how to say Zoe. He didn't know that was a Christianese term or whatever. So
Right.
but anyways, also what I got here, I know you know what this place is.
Oh, yes. Shed.
Yes, I went to Chicago this past right after my film festival in August. We went to Chicago for a week and visited, and I mean, fell in love with the Chicagoland. This is actually that was my fourth time being there, but this time I really sightseed. We went to Milwaukee actually for lunch one day, came back down when it was, the thunderstorms that were creating tornadoes and all that. We were parked under one of the bridges just north of Chicago, waiting for that storm to blow over. But we enjoy Chicago. We visited. I got
It's a
something
great
on
town.
YouTube. Got a little snippet of what we did in Chicago. But my favorite part, Chicago style dog at the Cubs game.
Oh, Oh, and I got to tell you, my
It was
success
great.
as an actress, I think, culminated in the Cubs World Series year.
Hmm.
My poor brothers, as I said, I'm the youngest of six, and they were always being dragged to all my plays and everything through high school. So when the Cubs were playing Pittsburgh Pirates in August of 2016, when the whole World Series fever was going, I took my brothers and their wives in a stretch limousine to Wrigley Field. And I
Cool.
said, this is payback for mom making you come to all my shows. And my biggest thrill was my oldest brother, who was in his late 70s. He said, I've never been able to enjoy the view from the outer drive because I've always been looking for the turnoff. And I said, that was my answer. And they won in 17 innings. It was just this nail
Wow.
biter. In fact, we didn't even find out that the Cubs had actually won until we were on our way home in the car. But that was my thrill, because the other thing, one of my other brothers, my brother Paul Rhoads, has always been my attorney all these years. And one of my credits I forgot to mention is I played Mother Goose in
Hmm.
children's videos and DVDs. And Paul was my contract guy. So as I said, the very least I could do was take he and his wife and the others to see the Cubs. Yeah, Mother Goose Video Treasury. Yeah. Yeah, that was me and Will Ryan. Very, very sadly, we lost Will a couple of months ago to not COVID, but cancer. And there was a memorial service for him on Sunday night for the Goose. But anyway, he did many voices. He was on that Christian show, the Odyssey show,
Okay.
playing Eugene.
Yep.
And he did many. He was the pterodactyl bird in Land Before Time, and Petrie, and he did, Willie
Wow.
the Giant. He did all these great characters. And in fact, this year, Disney had at the celebrity, icons we lost. They had Betty White, Will Ryan, and Ed Asner. And I could hear Will in my mind's eye going, well, it's a jip that I died, but I'm pretty cool company. He would have thought that was neat. And I'm
Really?
sure
Yeah.
he did think it.
If you're gonna
But
go, you go with some of the icons, right?
that's right. Exactly right. But so the Mother Goose was a great thing. And I still get, like the Rocky the Flying Squirrel used to say fan mail from some, or Bullwinkle would say fan mail from some flounder. I knew all those animation folks there, again, through Will.
Sure.
And, but I get fan mail still on the Mother Goose stuff. So, and what's one very quick funny thing, I had a little girl come in for an acting lesson one day, and
Hmm.
she said, Miss Cheryl, my mother started screaming the other night. And I said, really? And she said, yeah. She said, when she realized you were Mother Goose, my dad and I didn't know. And she goes, Miss Rhodes is Mother Goose. And the mother came in real sheepishly, because the mother is like early 30s. And see, we did these tapes in the late 80s.
Yeah.
So my kids are now parents themselves. And so anyway, but
Okay.
so that I've been blessed. I've been blessed to do. And you know who also was in the Mother Goose tapes? Hal Smith, who was Otis the Town Drunk on the Andy Griffith Show.
Oh, okay.
And he played Old King Cole in the show.
Wow.
And then Sharon Baird, who was one of the Mouseketeers, played Little Miss Muffet. And we got to work with a lot of Disney people, and it was just a joy.
So instead of playing the 7 degrees of Kevin Bacon, we should be playing or the 6 degrees or
6 degrees of
of
Cheryl
Cheryl
Rhoads.
Felicia Rhoads. Yeah.
Right. No, it's true. A friend of mine who's a writer, screenwriter, TV series writer in LA, she always says, Cheryl Felicia Rhoads is the only person I know who can go to Iowa and come back with a TV series. And it was true. I back in the 90s, I sat next to this guy who was the cousin of the bride who was marrying my nephew. And it was her cousin, Dave Johnson, that got me for Against the Grain. And the funny thing is, I remember I went to see him, and and he saw my demo tape of various shows I'd done and everything, and I'd been on the Merv Griffin show and stuff. And he says, I was promoting him another actress for something he was doing, and he said, you would be good for this part of this receptionist who's always helping people. I went, oh, that's nice. Because, people in Hollywood, they're always telling you, we've got this thing going. And you just never know until my mother would say it's a fait accompli. So anyway, I get a call to go into Warner Brothers. And I just think it's a one-on-one with me and the casting director. And I come in, and there are 40 people sitting there.
Hmm.
All these Warner Brothers execs, NBC execs, Dave in this group. And I went, well, hello. I had no clue. And what was so funny, when I came out of the audition, there was this other actress who was absolutely marvelous. And she was really from Texas. The show took place in Texas. And I had cast her, or I hired her. I was a producer on the show America's Funniest People on ABC, right before that. And I saw her come in. I thought, oh man, she's got it. She's the real deal. But I was walking around Lake Hollywood, where the big Hollywood sign is. And I just thought, God, thank you that I've had the opportunity to do these things. And, I had so many lucky breaks. And I was on my way to a film editor's house because I was going to have him edit my demo tape. And as I'm looking for the address, I saw that the street he lived on was Winona Boulevard. And I thought, that's interesting. Winona was the name of the character I auditioned for. And when I went into his house, I was shocked because he had this thing called a joke in the box that was on his front desk. It had a nose and glasses, and you push the nose and comedians would tell jokes. It was a cute novelty item in the early to mid 90s. Well, that had been invented by a friend of mine who had died of cancer a couple of years before. And I remember he was very concerned that he would get the copyright created by, for his family. And there was some question. And I couldn't believe it. And there it was on this guy's desk. And I picked up the box, and underneath it said created by Mark Bose. And I turned to the editor and I said, I got to go check my messages. And I did. And my agent was calling to say that I'd gotten the pilot for Against the Grain.
Wow.
So a lot of spiritual things, things that happen. That's been my life of interesting coincidences that I call them God winks, not coincidences.
But you actually grew up Catholic in Chicagoland, right?
I did, but I came from a very mixed religious family because my mother was Irish Catholic, but my father was Southern Baptist. And my dad's father actually hired Billy Graham for his one and only job as a pastor at the Village Baptist Church in Western Springs, Illinois. And George Beverly Shea from Western Springs, who was his soloist, they all went to our church. And my sister Virginia, who's in her 80s now, she said she remembered as a young girl going to Sunday dinner at my grandparents' house every Sunday, and Billy and Ruth Graham would be there. And so when my father and my mother eloped in the mid 30s, the Baptist Catholic thing was, it was a controversial deal, but my grandparents got along just great. And my Baptist grandfather said to my Catholic grandfather, he says, well, I really admire how you people get your folks to church. So there was no animosity at all. And my older sister became a Lutheran Sunday school teacher. In fact, I was coaching an actress in Hollywood one time. She said she was from Lake Mills, Iowa. And I said, oh, do you know Virginia Kingland? And she said, Mrs. Kingland, she was my Sunday school teacher. So,
wow. Small world, huh?
Yeah. So, but I was Catholic, and I was most influenced by my brother, Mark Rhoads, the one who was a state senator and was an editorial writer for Chicago Sun-Times. He, from the time he was a young kid, going to mass was the big deal. And I remember when I was about 11 or 12 and I was balking at going to church, they used to rerun the TV show The Monkees on the air, and I was a big Monkees fan. And Mark would say, Cheryl, get up, you're missing the Monkees. And I'd pop up thinking it was Saturday morning. He goes, get ready, we're going to church.
Well, let's tie in a Monkees story too in a second here with how we are in connection here. Let's just get real quick. I want to bring up the fact that after we met at International Christian Film Festival last May, and we had our conversation, I was compelled to invite you to a festival that I host here in Buffalo. We call it
Great
the
festival.
Great Lakes Christian Film Festival, and we
Fabulous.
have our next one coming up soon. This is kind of a shot of the Aurora Theater, where actually I don't even. You're right there. This little spot right here.
Oh yeah,
The
here's an
three,
award I won there.
yeah, the three of you, Greg, Donna, Marie, and yourself, were doing like a America's Got Talent style
Casting, yeah.
casting call. So it was great. It was a great little session. I think people that were involved that gave me this feedback that they loved it. But
It was
anywho,
so much fun.
I invited you to come because I felt like, okay, you had something to bring to our festival that we needed. And I'm kind of going in the direction of, excuse me, a little cough button, going in a direction with this festival of also producing,
Hmm.
uh, family friendly, faith based content,
Right.
but specifically some comedy. And because of your background, I was very impressed with your background. I said, you know what? That's what we need this year for our festival. Now we've had some good workshops over the years, but that would have been unique for what you can bring to the table. And
Hmm.
because you have acting training and you train others, that's like, okay, that's a perfect fit for what we need this year. So we had you come on board. It was kind of like a three thing that we were doing with you. The casting call was one thing, plus we had a workshop with you as as a like
Hmm.
a clean comedy workshop. Describe this workshop that you brought to the table in a second here, but also we had you screen a film that you presented to the festival,
That's
and
right.
we'll talk about that also after that. So give me a little bit of a highlight from your time as um, just coming to Western New York in general. I mean, you said you've been here before, years before, but
Well, I'd been at oh my gosh,
Niagara.
near Niagara. I went there for a speech competition. Um, I was acting back in college, and otherwise I'd been to the Tappan Zee area and stuff for when I was a flower girl when I was 5. But
Yeah,
anyway,
Tappan Zee is that's way the other side of the
the other
state.
side, yeah.
I used to live down there too in Orange County,
Okay,
which is real close to Rockland County, where Tappan Zee Bridge crosses
right.
over to Westchester County.
Right,
So go
right.
ahead.
But
I'm
but
sorry.
but Niagara, we went for this acting, speech
Yeah.
competition when
Hmm.
I was uh, in college, and I remember I was doing this final round. I had won some awards doing this story I had written called "The Second Grandpa," about my nephew's reaction to my father's death. My dad died when I was a senior in college. Senior in college. And I was doing it. And this had just been 6 months later. And my coach kept warning me, might be a little too close. You might, I said, no, I can detach myself. And usually I could. But in the final round there in Niagara, I heard somebody crying. And all of a sudden it just threw me off. It was, almost like, with Julia Roberts and the Runaway Bride, where she gets
Hmm.
distracted, and all of a sudden I had this lump in my throat and I couldn't get through it.
Hmm.
And my coach was going, "Oh no!" And so I try to teach people to know what their parameters are
Hmm.
on things, and what will be good as a as a presentation, and how to prepare correctly, and also to not be hard on yourself if you make a mistake. And in fact, with the comedy thing, and I think I told this at the workshop, um, when Arsenio Hall and I were writing this comedy sketch for the Motown Review, I told him this story that when I was 15, I was to sing, that we were having this recital with my music teacher, and I was to sing this opera bit, Lasciatemi morire. Well, I forgot it. In the middle, I started singing, Lasciatemi morire. And I was just like that. And then I just started going, Lasciatemi pisciata. And I'm making stuff up. And the pianist is kind of going like, what's going on? And I'm just going on and singing, and my mother is just in the front row going like, oh my gosh. And finally I finished, I went, Lasciatemi morire. And I came off, and my singing teacher said, that was very interesting, Cheryl. So I told Arsenio this.
It's a nice way of saying you really messed up.
Yeah, but I kept going.
Right.
You know,
I did the same thing. A real short story. I was in Native Son as Mr. Britt, and I bombed halfway in the middle of what I was supposed to say, and I threw the rest of the cast off for like a minute and a half, and we just closed out of that scene and walked off, and I'm like, oh, what was I thinking? So
and just went.
I know how I felt. Yeah, I just kept on doing it. You know who I channeled? Who I channeled during that moment was Mike Madsen, because for whatever reason he's just a master at just going with the flow at wherever he's at. So
Mike who? I'm sorry.
Mike Madsen. He was in Reservoir Dogs.
Oh, okay, yes.
Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
well, anyway,
Blonde.
just what I was going to finish with Arsenio. So I told him that story, and he said, okay. He said, what if something else happened, like somebody had a sore throat? So our Smokey Robinson dressed up like Alistair Cook, who used to host the Masterpiece Theater, white wig and everything. And we did this segment called Great Moments in Music. And so he said, this is the beginning. You think that soul singing started with Mr. Sam and Mr. Dave? Afraid not. You know, it started in the 15th century with the tenor from the Black Forest, and Arsenio comes out with this white wig, and I'm in the whole Brunhilde outfit with the Viking, you know, the breastplates and everything. And we started to sing Lasciatemi morire. So we're singing Lasciatemi morire, but Arsenio has a sore throat, and he goes, Lasciata. And then he goes, Lascia, wolo. And then all of a sudden he starts doing this thing, and I turn to the other people, and we all start doing the dancing. And so Smokey says, and that is how soul singing started. And it became a great hit. But my point in telling that story, which it's a fun thing anyway, but don't be afraid of mistakes.
Right.
Because of that mistake, I got the first big sketch on this show, making good money, you know, getting to act in it. It was something they showed to promo the show because of a mistake I made when I was 15. Wow. So I tell that my kids and teens too, that the mistake, God will use it.
Yeah. You
know, God will use it. There's a reason. And that the movie, you know, and I know you wanted to discuss that, of Service. This blind actress, Daria Finley, who won Best Actress at your festival in the short film category, she would always say, God has my back. Yeah, there's a picture from IMDb. And Daria was not born blind. She lost her eyesight when back in 2015 she had a stroke in the ocular canal, and just woke up blind. But she's just always had this incredible faith. And she said to me, you know, when she first told me, she said, don't cry. God has a reason for everything. And she said, God has my back. And so she lives that, and she's been such an inspiration to me, you know, and but that God has your back. And see, you can't tell she's blind because her eyes, there's not the film over it like usually a blind person has, but because hers was in the ocular canal. In fact, she did I have a little TV show called Famous Characters in History, and she played the teacher, Marva Collins. And we never mentioned that Daria was blind. You know, she just learned everything and you know, and right there, but she can't see anything there. And that's Michael Patterson, who's been in a lot of Christian films.
That guy right there is now the hot commodity.
He's a hot commodity. And Michael was my student. Nice. He took classes with me starting, I think it was in 2012, and worked for a few years. And he's been in a few of my films. But yeah, he's in this movie about this pastor that's hilarious. And he's doing, he's done a lot of stuff. So he's just, he's terrific. And in my films, I try to always use my students And this Barry Bradley Leonard played the Uber driver there, and that's his wife Jessie, and this gal Rosemary Binney, and James Whitley, who was one of my camera people. And we filmed that only 2 weeks after Daria's father died. Daria's father was a top photographer for AP. And in fact, he was honored at the NAACP Awards one year. And so Daria has her own little company now. I helped her with a one-woman show she wrote. And she did a show called Lights Out that she wound up taking to Los Angeles. And she's working on a film now about her father and another one about her mother. Each are separate. But what I was going to say about her show Lights Out, when she went to LA, there was an actress, a comedian, that I had seen 25 years ago when I was a producer at America's Funniest People. And this gal, Kathy Westfield, was hilarious, and she worked clean. And it's funny, she told me later she didn't become a Christian until a few months after that, but she was definitely headed there. And when she did this act, it was after 1 a.m. And I had sat through over 25 comics already. But because I was a performer, there was no way I was going to leave till everyone was done. That was just the way it is. Mm-hmm. So she was hilarious. And the whole audience consisted of me, a couple making out, and the waitress cashing out for the evening. That was it. That was the audience. And this gal is so funny. And I am laughing uproariously. And she looks at me, and because I'm Caucasian and she's black, she said, "Well, we're not related," like I was some kindly aunt, just, laughing to support her. And she came up to me and she says, "Lady, how sad is your life that you're here at 1:15 in the morning watching my comedy act?" And I whipped out my card from ABC that said producer on it. She said, "You are kidding me." And I said, "No." And I said, "You and I have learned a very important lesson. I stay till the last person performs, and you do your best show no matter who is or isn't in the audience." And again, the couple still haven't come up for air, and the waitress still ignoring us. Well, so I brought Kathy on America's Funniest People a few days later, and she wound up winning $10,000 on the show. Wow. So then my brother had always loved that story. And so he said, "Well, try to contact Kathy because, I think she'd love Daria's act." And I hadn't talked to Kathy in 25 years. She said, "Cheryl, I still have your business card from ABC on my wall," because it made such an impact. And she went to see Daria's show. And so now they have a connection. And I always have loved connecting people. My acting students know they can call me, and I've matchmade 7 couples into marriage, and so. But I've always enjoyed that. My brother's that way, and my mom was that way, and it's fun for me.
So now, I know you're talking a little bit about the film, but we had it screened kind of during your. We screened it twice,
right?
Of the shorts. Micro short, I think we put it in that category.
Yes, that's right, because it's only 8. It's just under 9 minutes.
Yeah, and then we screened it normally during a like our short segment one day, and then we screened it also. It was rough trying to get it all set up, but we had screened it while you were presenting your workshop. I think that was Saturday.
Yeah.
And that was interesting because we had a workshop before yours, but before that was like worship. It was a worship session.
That's right.
Praise and worship, and it was scheduled to be done by 12, but it was kind of running a little bit late. And then Greg, how come I can't remember his name? Anyways, they had a stunt coordinators session that they conducted, and that was the quickest session in the history of our festival as far as presentation that I've ever had, because it was like they were in and out, but they were real quick to the point. They got, here, our cameraman was following along with them on how to shoot, an action scene, stunts, if you will. Mm-hmm. And Greg Robbins, that's his name. So it was the Robbins stunt team, him, his son, and his partner. They were all presenting this, and it was just great. But it was so fast. It was so funny to me like like somebody's trying to do blah, 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 blah. Okay, have a good day.
A microwave, not a yeah,
Right, right. It's
quicker.
a micro session,
Your
and then
festival was so much fun. I
I
just
loved it
loved it.
too. I mean, to me, that was the best one we've had. We've had a couple good ones too, but we had the downtown area of this little village of East Aurora was
I
such an
used to
amazing
roar. Yeah,
place to do a festival because it has the Christmas card look to it. There,
it did. And I got my monkey's purse there.
and that was the other segment that we were going to get into. While you were there and you were shopping in these shops in East
Right.
Aurora, you found something, a monkey's lunchbox.
Monkey's lunchbox. I think I've got it. Vamp for me. Let
Oh
me
yeah,
let me
yeah,
go
sure,
grab it.
sure. So while Cheryl's looking for that, let's just get into real quick. Here's the uh, page that we had. If you go to glcff.com, you'll go to the workshops 2021, and you'll see this is a profile that we created for Cheryl. But she presented a clean comedy workshop. I want her to get into that in a second. But that was entitled "Why Laughter Can Make You More Productive at Work," and it shows you also on our website a little bit of from her IMDb as far as her background and all that stuff. So, but yeah, so Cheryl was to me was a tremendous asset for our festival, but while she was in town, she was lucky enough to find this commodity, this toy, if you will.
It's got the record on the back. I had so many people who were so jealous. I came back to the Washington, D.C. area, and I have a friend who's a huge monkey person, and she just
Oh, it
couldn't
was a
believe
purse.
it.
I thought it was a lunchbox for some
No,
reason.
it's a purse.
Oh,
It's
okay.
a
Wow.
purse, and it's got pictures in there from their albums.
Oh,
You
wow.
know, of course, we just lost Mike Nesmith. Mickey Dolenz is the last surviving monkey.
Wow.
And
Yeah.
no, but they had great bags, and it was the store that was, I think, 2 doors down from the festival. And it was
Fiddlers,
so.
maybe. Might
Pardon
have
me?
been Fiddlers or maybe a vintage place. I don't know.
Yeah,
There's like
yeah. I might. What did you say, Vidlers?
Fiddlers is kind of like a toy store, really.
No. This was next to that, and it
Okay, yeah.
had neat
One of the vintage
knickknacks and
places.
jewelry, and oh, it was so much fun. It was
That's
so
cool.
much fun. And one funny thing too, Mickey Dolenz, who's the last monkey
Yeah.
still surviving. I actually babysat for his daughter Amy when, again, I was 15 years old. He'd come to do a dinner theater show, and just through a series of events, me and a couple of friends wound up being the babysitters for his daughter. But I will tell you this, and I think I told the festival, I had, if we didn't already have proof of our Savior and proof of God, I had further proof of God through the monkeys. And I will tell you how. Back in 1987, the Monkees were doing their reunion tour, and they're doing a show at the Greek Theater in Los Angeles. And it wasn't just the Monkees. It was Herman's Hermits. It was Gary Puckett and the Union Gap. It was all these bands, from the 60s
Like,
and 70s.
Kind of like the mid '60s rock and roll.
Exactly right.
Entertainment. Yep.
Well, it's funny. I had wanted to go, and at the time, Will the Goose, we were going to go. In fact, it's funny. He called me last year. He said, "Didn't we go to that Monkees concert?" And I said, "No, Will, you went with somebody else." But thank God, thank you God, because my niece and I decided we were going to try to go, and there were out of tickets. There was just no way out of tickets. I have this spooky TV that keeps popping on in the background. I don't know what the story is, but anyway,
Breaking news.
Breaking news. Oh, okay. So there you go. Yeah, my breaking news story. Anyway, so we went, and this friend of mine said, "Bring signs that say we need tickets." So we did, and I'm standing there, and this real, God bless her, bless your heart, as they say in the South, snippy girl comes up with her mother, and she said, "How much are you willing to pay?" Well, I had $40 on me, which in 1987 was not bad, but I said, "That's all I had." She said, "Oh, Mom, we can get a lot more than that." I thought, "I have a nice day." Oh, and meanwhile, this kind of sweet little nerdy guy comes up, and he's been trying to get into the concert it had been a 3-day concert. This was Sunday night, the last night. And he said, "Oh, tonight's the night to get in because Mike Nesmith's going to perform them, but it's really hard to get tickets." So, he finally was 8 o'clock. Everybody was going. He said, "We're not going to get in, but it was really fun chatting with you." As he starts to leave, another lady comes up. She says, "Well, dear, I have a ticket." And I said, "Well, I needed 2 tickets, because my niece had gone to the other side with her sign. We were on opposite sides of the entry, and I needed 2. And I said, "Well, I've only got $40." She goes, "Oh, I paid $16 for it. I'll be happy to sell it to you." So I call out to the guy who was just getting through the exit. I said, come back. I said, "She has a ticket she can sell you." He said, well, what about you?" He said, and I said, "I need 2 tickets. You go." Well, he hugged me. You would have thought I'd given him the key to the city or something. So excited. So he goes happily in. I figured, well, I've got $40. My niece and I will have a nice time tonight. And all of a sudden, my niece comes up. She goes, Cheryl, look what I've got." Another lady had walked up, gave her an envelope that had 2 center section tickets that were probably going for a couple $100 for free.
Wow.
And she said,
great.
"Dear, have a great time tonight." But that's not the miracle. We go in to the place, and it was a blast. And I never saw that nerdy guy again, never saw the snippy girl and her mother or the other lady. And we sit next to this nice couple. And we're sitting down there with them. And I started to go get a hot dog or something. He said, "Oh, no, we've got a big basket of food. We're celebrating our anniversary. We'll share it with you." And they had, fruits and sandwiches and champagne, all this stuff. Okay. So he said, "Well, we really wanted to celebrate tonight because it's been a rough few weeks." And I said, "Oh," and I just, "Hang on, it's Daria. Hey, Daria, I'm just talking about you on a podcast. I'm on TV right now talking about you in Of Service." "Yeah, I'll talk to you, but we're on Facebook right now. Shawn P. Greene, Greene. See if you can find it on Facebook." All right, bye. Anyway, that was Daria. Started the movie. Anyway,
nice.
So what happened is the couple says, "We've been having this rough week." And I said, "Why is that?" And they said, "Well, we've been he was an animator, and he'd been trying to get a meeting at Worlds of Wonder, who did the Teddy Ruxpin series. Well, Will, who was the goose, was also Rubby there, and Teddy Ruxpin is a guy named Phil Barron, who I introduced him to his wife back in 1979. Michelle was a college friend of mine. So this guy said, "Yeah, I've been trying to get a meeting at Worlds of Wonder, and I've been trying to get in to see this guy, Phil Barron, and I just can't get a return call from the office." And I just said, "Well, you're in luck. Phil Barron and Michelle are 2 of my best friends. I will get you that meeting tomorrow." And this guy's mouth just dropped open and did get a meeting. They wound up doing some work together. Now, I tell you, Shawn, what were the odds of, us getting those tickets and sitting next to this couple who had let it go, they're saying, "Well, we're not going to get this meeting." And then I sat next to them.
Slim to none.
That's another God moment,
Absolutely.
And I got to tell that story to Mickey Dolenz at one point at the Hollywood Bowl. I said, "I got to tell you, I have proof of God through the monkeys." I told him, and he went, first one, "You got the ticket for free?" And then I told him what else have. He goes, "That's amazing." And I have stories like that happen all the time. And that's why you, just like Daria says, and she says in our movie Of Service, God has your back. And that's why to have a sense of humor about things. And, where I said it helps you in work and everything, because so many actors, God bless them, are so intense, and we all want to do a good job, but you got to think of the bigger picture, and how are you being of service? And just, you asked me before the program started how it started. I was having to deal with something with my brother's apartment here. We're in the same complex. And I just prayed before, and I said, "Jesus, just help me, because I'm that Irish temperament, and I can get," and I just said, "Just you speak through me today." And I just happened to run into the guy I needed to run into to help us with this situation. And we took care of everything, or at least put the steps in place before the show even started this morning. So whenever I just say, "Get me out of the way, and be of service," you know, uh,
Beautiful. So
Jesus steps in.
it's a beautiful short film too. And uh, tell me a little bit about what's the whole purpose of telling this story. I know obviously it was, we have somebody who's blind and seems to be able to see more than other people. That was kind of one of the messages I saw or I observed. So
Well,
what is it? What is it? What's the message behind your
the
story?
message behind it is, when Daria called me and told me, she said, "I don't want you to be sad." And I said, "What?" I hadn't seen her in like a year and a half. And she said, "Well, between Christmas and New Year's, I just woke up blind." And I was so shocked. And she told me the whole thing about the ocular canal. And she's amazing. The reason she was calling me, because she's working on a movie idea that she wants to do for this other festival that features works with people with disabilities. But anyway, the idea was this: you never know what you're being prepared for. And in the movie, Daria's character is on her way to meet her boyfriend, who is this handsome, popular guy that they'd broken up, and he'd gone to Afghanistan.
Hmm.
He did 3 tours of duty. And anyway, he was wanting them to get together. Now, this part I made up in the story,
Hmm.
but uh,
No,
what
having
happened
creative control in some real stories.
in a real story. That's
Yeah,
right.
right.
And we used all the details of what she was going through, but then to write in Michael Patterson, who, as you said, is the hot commodity right now. Um, the whole thing is, he was so handsome and just, popular, and she didn't want to be a burden. She didn't want him to feel sorry for her and all this stuff. So the Uber driver, is a struggling writer who keeps trying to write things that he thinks is selling in Hollywood,
Mm,
and in the
mm.
market. And his agent says, "Well, write what you know. Don't keep trying to do what other people say you're supposed to do. Write from your heart. Write what you know. That's how you're successful." So he's the Uber driver driving her, and he's been so grumpy and everything about his career, and he sees her career. So, anyways, they come up to this restaurant that used to be their favorite place, the couple's favorite place to meet. She says, "Do you see a handsome soldier?" And he looks and he goes, "Yeah, I do." And anyway, they meet, and you see that one whole side of Michael's face is full of scars. And he had an accident. And so in Daria's mind, he's still the handsome guy, but it was also about his soul. And so the idea was like, kind of like the gift of the Magi, that he you know she couldn't see him, and he still loved her. And then at the end, that's what the Uber driver, the writer, writes that. And he writes what happened to him, and finally he's getting a sale. And so it's that idea that, if I believe every day has a story arc, from
Mhm.
morning to end. There are things that play out that uh, relate to one another in the day. I mean, and just even running into the guy this morning, doing this podcast, doing stuff. Because at first, when there was this issue happening, with my brother, I thought, "Oh my gosh, can I make the 10 o'clock thing?" I said, "No, I'll make it. I'll just do everything early in the morning." And I'm just really blessed, because I've had so many angels around me too. I constantly have angels, people that come and help. Michael has been one of those angels. In fact, we have a running gag. He's when he's not doing movies all the time, he also is an IT guy. And he came to fix my brother's computer one time. Different times he'd come and help out with my older brother. And I said I had visions of Michael winning an Academy Award someday, and he'd say, "I'd like to thank the ladies and gentlemen of the governor, the board of governors. I'd like to go to the after party, but I have to go to Falls Church, Virginia, because Miss Rhoads needs me to work on her brother's computer." But thank you. But
That's
Michael
funny.
is just this incredible guy, and and he too is just an example of his faith every day. And so we were actually talking yesterday about working to bring his new film, about this pastor character that's a comedy, but also strong faith, to a local theater here. So anyway, I keep in touch with the various folks, and keeping in touch is just one thing that is something that our society really needs to work on. Okay, these cell phones are great. This technology is great. But when I have a little girl do an impression of her mother, and I'll ask them, do impression of your family member, to create characters. And she'll be going, she says, this is my mom. Just a minute. Just a minute. And I had the mother come and look at it. Mother went, oh. And, and we're so glued, we're missing fabulous moments.
Yep.
God's moments all around us.
I agree. And, we're talking about, and I just turned 50 this year. So I am kind of like the Generation X is like the threshold between strong community connections, human contact, and technology. So our generation is right in between that.
Yeah.
So we're kind of like both. We can adapt. We can relate to, boomers, so to speak, or builders, which was the generation before you. We had that ability still. We grew up before the internet blew up. So,
exactly.
But we're also growing up with the technology. Some of us have kids that are in that age range where they're all on TikTok. So we're all in this kind of like mix of, old school, new school way of building community. And right now, it's, to me, and my perspective, is it's a dangerous place that we're in, because people all are stressed over how popular can I get on social media, because that's where it's at. That's where I can make a living, or I can be popular and liked. And if I can't be successful there, something like this up here happens, the mental health issues.
They do.
They get worried over it.
I had a young Christian actress a few years ago. She had to be on Instagram. She had to be on Twitter. And she said, well, that's the way to get the word out. And I turned to her and I said, honey, it's funny how the Sermon on the Mount caught on, and nobody had Instagram. Nobody had Facebook. And she just kind of looked at me and she goes, well, that's true.
Hey, Jesus has 5,000 followers. Wow. How did that happen?
Wow. Exactly. So I'm trying, and of course, one thing they'll get crazy about, my students will, when I say no texting the day of performance, and they're going like, what are you talking about? I said, because they're so distracted. They're not focused. And there was even a woman about your age who was getting ready on it, and she's a wonderful gal, wonderful actress, and she was checking her email. And I said, stop it right now. And she went in and she was a little flubbing out her lines. I said, and this is why you don't do that right before an audition. You got to clear the brain and just focus and see. And, and I text and all this stuff, of course, but I'm from another generation, where I know how to tune it off and what to focus on. And women are multitaskers anyway. So it's just right now I was trying to get the link for your show to Daria so she could look it up and watch it. And as I was saying, I use the terms look it up, that's in the movie and stuff. She is so amazing how, she manages everything, and filming the movie and all the stuff she does, and she's blind. And that's why when different times, and again, and not to compare ourselves on things, but she certainly is an inspiration.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
I was impressed. I didn't even realize until watching, like the first time watching that short film, I didn't realize she was blind yet. And I think maybe even the driver was kind of like that too, until he realized it.
That's right. So, because he saw the white cane, he knew.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, it didn't dawn on me. I just thought maybe he was just maybe a limp or something. I don't know.
Right.
So, but yeah, it was such a beautiful story of service. We did give it a couple awards, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe best writer for short.
I got a best writer, and Daria got best actress.
Right. So we did gave you 2 awards for that. Plus, we gave you some medallions for your participation.
Yeah,
Yes.
I was going to come on wearing all my medallions. Like from my era, there was a picture of Mark Spitz when he won all his swimming where I was going to wear my medallions. And you know what? Because Daria has been so busy doing stuff and she's been traveling around the country, she still doesn't have her Best Actress award. And since August, I said, Daria, we've got to connect so I can give you your trophy. And she's going to be in a project I'm working on later this month.
Yeah.
And so she'll get it then. But she's busy all the time, and she always has a project on, and that's one of
You
the
don't
things.
have to say that any further with me too. I mean, I just finished a degree at University at Buffalo. I was so busy with that,
Congratulations!
and it was so hard because I was not prepared for evolutionary biology this last semester, and it kicked my mental butt really
Wow,
bad. So
wow.
I basically, no lie, when it got to like October, it was like halfway through the semester. I says, you know what? I'm canceling everything until I graduate because I will not graduate if I can't focus and get finish this course. And I did
And
not
that's
want to graduate later. So
God bless you. What an accomplishment! One of my students is a police officer, is also has a rock band, also just got his law degree because he wants to do entertainment law,
nice,
contracts for his band and for various productions. And he's an actor, and
nice,
he's a cameraman. And in
very
fact,
cool.
he's going to be in the next movie that I'm getting ready to film in August, and or not in August, in April. And but the multitaskers. So congrats to you. I mean, kudos.
Well, I like you said, most women are multitaskers. I
Yeah,
was not.
naturally.
I am somewhat. I can do a couple things by repetition, but I was not going to be able to do the worship team at church. I was not going to be able to attend to any emails from the film festival itself,
Yeah.
conduct any kind of podcasting or whatever side project comes up, even in film,
Hmm.
stage. There was a lot of opportunities I just set aside because I couldn't do anything until I finished that course.
I'm
So,
amazed you could do the festival when you were doing the school seal because the
well, the school
festival
the
was so
school wasn't
fun.
during the summer, so I didn't have
Oh,
to worry
that's
about.
right. That's
So
right.
that's why I did it in the summer.
Yeah.
I could move at any time and another time, but I was not doing any summer courses. I actually finished the semester right after going to ICFF
Yeah.
last year. But anyways, long story short, I had to shut down a lot of things. But I'm very busy. I'm very active in the film community in Western New York. We do also not only our film festival, but then I participate in the 48-hour film project, which is a
Oh, yeah.
worldwide competition.
Right.
So our city is very much, an involved city in this competition. 30 teams is what we had last
Wow.
year,
Good
and
for you.
some years in the past we had maybe 12 maximum. But there's so much buzz in our town for filmmaking that we are all active. We're all trying to get on everybody else's projects and helping each other. That it's just incredible. So it's always busy here in Buffalo now. And
Well,
12 years ago, it wasn't like that when I got here.
I've been encouraging various people from this other film that we did this last year, Such a Good Boy, to come to the festival in August. And I was going to say part of that Irish thing of always going to, yeah, Such a Good Boy, yeah, that's and that too was written. My assistant's dog had died, and that's my assistant there, Belina, who's an actress too. And when her dog died, I was so impressed with her, the fact that she was on her treadmill and she was disciplined and doing things. And it gave me the idea for this story about this dog who goes to heaven and is trying to get in the heavenly choir. That's all about, yeah, that's Belina. And anyway, it came from that. And I was actually able, because the pandemic was still going on, I had all my angels socially distanced and I put some dogs between them and stuff. And good old Dylan. And this guy, Justin Moe, who is the voice of Dylan, was also my cameraman and editor. And Chuck Carr, the guy who plays God, he's, I have to say, my favorite line in that movie. The dog is asking him questions, and at the very end, the dog says to God, he says, just one thing. He said, I didn't know God was black. and Chuck, or Creighton Spade is his stage name. He says, "Well, didn't you see that movie with Morgan Freeman?" And he says, "Oh yeah, but that was a movie. This is real life." And so God says, "Well, do you have a problem with that?" He goes, "No, not at all. I am kind of wondering about the no four legs thing, though. That's Justin, who's the voice of the dog." And God says, "I get that a lot. I get that a lot." So we had so much fun. Yeah, and there's Jesus and Mary and all that stuff. You can tell where my Catholic background. The gal playing Mary is a very strong Christian. She's Protestant. And she didn't understand that the Catholic thing of Mary, Queen of Heaven, and she had been Mrs. Washington, D.C. in the Mrs. America contest. And so she had just done the competition. I said, "Why don't you put on your crown and come play Mary, Queen of Heaven?" And so she did. And her name's Jean Ann Roberts. The other guy, Josh Galvin, played Jesus in that. But it was so fun, and I used all my students, and we really had a great time. But that movie too is about faith and carrying on and knowing. Again, I think all my films have the idea is, particularly I think, and it's like what you were just saying about doing so many things. Irish people particularly, we have a tendency to be in charge. Try to be in charge.
And an Aries on top of it.
And an Aries on top. Are you an Aries too?
Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
April 18th.
And I'm April 14th. So there you
How
go.
about that?
So
my daughter, who's autistic, she's April 16th, but she still has the same
the
background.
tendency. But the amazing thing is when you say, "Okay, God, what's your plan?" He gave you the talents in the first place, and the ideas, and the wisdom, and the humor, and the whatever it is. But again, and that's one of the points of that movie too, that God's got your back, on stuff. So anyway,
I'm looking forward to screening that. It was submitted to us, and
yes,
I mean, it's already going to be accepted. We don't have the notifications sent out until mid-June, but yeah, it's already accepted. So
well, I told people, I'm trying to get people up there, if, at the very least, to go shopping for monkeys' purses and the like.
Right.
But your film festival is so much fun, and I enjoy. Oh, and what was so cool, one of the other winners at your festival, Richard Rossi, who won in another division. Richard and I were old friends from LA, and he wound up bringing
most creative.
He's most creative. He brought in two of my young actresses for a movie that he hasn't cast yet because there were some various delays. But he had 200 girls audition, and they have down to 20, and two of my little students are in it. But Richard and I were great friends in the 80s and 90s, and we hadn't seen each other. And when he saw the list, he said, "Cheryl, how many Cheryl Felicia Rhoads can there be?" So it was so great to connect with him again too. And I enjoyed the films at your festival so much. I really did. It was a great variety of stuff.
Yeah, they really do have talent out there that blew my mind. When I first initially did my research, and I was kind of doing it from 2008 is when I kind of had it planted in me to do something. But from that point until 2014, when I says, "Okay, we're going full bore on making this event happen," the next year, 2015, was number one. And I was just doing all my research. But as the submissions were coming in, I was like, there's really all these Christian filmmakers out there, and nobody is talking about them. None of these projects are being screened on networks, or I was like, wow, I was blown away by the amount of talent that is out there. And I'm not just talking about acting. I'm talking about cinematography,
editing,
writing, dialogue, background work, set designing.
You bet.
Wow. Animation, it was like, it was an eye opener for me that, hey, we don't have to depend on Hollywood, to tell our stories. We do have to depend on Hollywood for a good distribution deal.
But even that is changing.
But because of the internet, it's kind of like a new level playing field. You can make your own Roku channel and have your own, which I do intend to be doing with our festival, screen our own, submissions. Whoever wants to be on the platform, we're going to do that. So, and that's going to be building revenue. whether it's little
Exactly.
or a lot for either one of us. But the idea is to get these projects out there, get the names of the people who are creating them, and the actors that are involved in it, get them working. We
That's
want to
right.
we want the creative people in the kingdom of God to continue creating, and that's
Right.
really why I did this. I've always had a passion for the arts. I was in music promotions, specifically Christian hip hop, for about
Wow.
15 years, and I did a lot
Wow.
of promotions in Florida, downstate New York, and New York City. We call it downstate, from Buffalo. Uh, but anyways, New York State, Florida was kind of like my areas where I did a lot of music promotion for artists in those regions, and I just felt like, okay, I've done a lot to promote other people, but who am I?
Right.
And I knew that I was an entertainer, I can act, and I said, you know what? It's time for me to start working on me and my skill sets. So basically 2008, that was it. I was like, okay, I've done a lot for you guys, I'll do as much as I can, but it's time for me to now transition to where I need to be. And in 2009 is when I started doing like background work for Central Casting in New York City.
Hmm.
Got on the sets, learned how they did the stuff, and the rest is history. But it's always been a passion of mine to be in film, and specifically doing film promotion for the Christian world, if you
Yeah.
will.
Yeah.
So I'm
Well,
excited about that.
you're doing a great job. And now tell me, will it be in East Aurora again this coming
We are,
up?
we are planning it,
Yay.
because I love East Aurora,
I love
and
it.
I love the people that we worked with. They were the people that were excited for us to be there. Was pretty much almost everybody, mostly business people,
Yeah.
but people who were sort of like maybe religious, or they're kind of like on the fence about their faith, maybe. Or I felt like our presence there was actually helping, doing what that church already does in the community,
Exactly.
and so,
Exactly.
and just outreach to a new segment of people that would never have been reached
And the
otherwise.
town, I gotta tell you, it was so
Yeah,
restful and relaxing, and I just loved it. And the restaurants were fantastic, and just the whole community was so nice, and I just it was wonderful. It was just a wonderful experience, and I'm looking forward to this year.
yeah. Well, West Her is a like a large car company, like car sales, and they break pretty much every car manufacturer that's out there. They have a West Her. It's HERR, like Nissan, Chevy, all that stuff. They
Okay.
have each one of them, each manufacturer, they have their own. They own one of those. They just bought the East Aurora's Aurora Theater.
Oh, really?
They purchased it, so now
Oh,
they got money. Because if anybody knows right now how car sales are, they're real expensive.
yeah.
Even the resale of the old cars.
Unbelievable.
So
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
got some money to back them up, and they decided they wanted to get more involved in the arts, and so they purchased the Aurora Theater, while still maintaining Lynn Kinsella, who was the original owner before that. She's maintaining her status as the operations manager for
And
the
that
facility,
theater is so beautiful.
and
Oh
she
my
was so
gosh.
good to work with, and that place is so phenomenal.
That's
West
great.
Her is going to renovate this place like you wouldn't believe. I could tell that's going to be a
Really.
big project for them.
Because it was pretty beautiful last summer. I
It
really
is,
and
but
I
I know they
loved the
have a vision
place
for it.
next door that had the old fashioned cars that were after the gangsters and stuff.
Oh yeah, yeah. There's a guy that bought. I mean, a lot of people are putting money into a lot of things in Western New York, but one guy bought this old bank, gutted it out, and it's a Airbnb now, plus
I know.
a little facility to put off weddings and ceremonies, or receptions. But yeah, it's 1930s um, themed Airbnb, and all the rooms have pictures and old
I remember there was a great
1930.
orange car there. They were doing it. It was an old
Mhm.
1930s car, and I took a picture of it and sent to my brother. He goes, "That is so cool."
That
It's
was the
awesome.
owner's car, yeah.
Oh, it's awesome.
Yeah, one of these days we're going to be utilizing that. If not this summer, we'll see. But I do intend to do that at least this summer again. And we are going to be talking about it. Our team is going to be solidifying it. We've already been talking back and forth with Lynn as far as what we're going to do. So,
Is David Lewis going to be involved? Is it David?
of course, he is.
Yes. Good.
David Lewis is he's actually working on his own projects right now.
I know.
I think he's just he was inspired. He's a Christian man of God, missionary, to Africa several times.
Fabulous.
But he is, I know you probably had a lot of good conversations because
I did.
David Lewis volunteered, so to speak. I mean, we gave him some money for his expenses, but he volunteered to do whatever. I says, well, how about transportation? That could be helpful because we did have you kind of far away. And I says, we need our guests to be brought back and forth every day while she's in town, if you could do that. So he drove all the way down from Niagara Falls to Hamburg to drive you over to East Aurora. And if you don't know that, that's probably about 50 to 100 miles, round trip maybe.
We had a blast though.
I know you had good conversations.
We had great conversations, and I've been in touch with them since. So I hope I can stay closer this time. We talked about that. So
yeah, I'm working on it.
So yeah,
I'm working on that.
Yeah.
With me traveling this right after graduation, I traveled for about a month. That kind of threw a wrench in getting some things done earlier, but weather up here has been a little crazy.
Yeah.
Plus, I got a wedding to go to next weekend. So.
Oh wow.
In Florida. So
Wow.
There's just too many things happening.
But I'm going to see you. I'm going to see you at the Orlando International.
I plan on going.
Good. Yeah, I'm already set to. I'm only going for 2 days.
Right now, what's going on is Content 2022 down in Dallas.
Right.
And I wanted to go there, but some things happened, injury to somebody that I had to help out. So.
Oh. Well, there's a lot of fun things there, and it's an exciting time. And I'm getting involved with some exciting things with a Christian producer friend of mine in LA. And
I'm just like you, though. I like to network. I like to connect. Yeah. And I like seeing people establish a relationship and stay connected. And I like seeing all these projects that have come out of just the meetings at the film festival.
Yeah.
Which you can't get from a virtual online version of
you cannot
of the event. So
I'm looking forward to it.
Absolutely, me too. So, and I'll close whenever. If you have to go, I understand.
Whenever.
But before we close, I want you to talk a little bit about your workshop at the festival. The
Clean Comedy, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it's interesting. Leading into that, the actor Will Ryan, who played the Goose in the Mother Goose tapes, they were talking about a service that Will never swore, never. I never once heard him use a vulgarity ever, and we were both of like minds that you can be really funny, which he really was, and without an interesting thing, I said this at the workshop last year, that when I was in high school, and this would have been around the time I was messing up on my Lasciate Mi Morire song that I told you about with Arsenio. Mm-hmm. I remember I had a teacher, Mrs. Like, who, because right at the time, and that's in the 70s, is when things were getting so edgy. And I remember Mrs. Like saying, you watch, the more vulgar society gets, the meaner society will get. And the meaner society gets, the more violent society will get. And I remember at the time we all kind of went, oh, Mrs. Like, I mean, I was more kind of there, but still as a teenager, you're thinking, what? And I thought of her so many times in the last few years, because when you dehumanize people like that, it's like the isolation, I mean, it's so interesting now in a time where people are talking about inclusion. Well, you're not including if you're writing them off with vulgarity or, you're too into the technology that you're ignoring them. But with comedy in particular, it makes you use your vocabulary more and frame of reference. So I once took a bunch of kids and kids that were college kids to a comedy class. And right now we've got somebody vacuuming out there, and I will say, "Come in, introduce yourself." Anyway, yeah, and that's the thing. Being in the moment is helpful with comedy.
Being in the moment, right?
In the moment. But
Yes.
anyway, we went to see this gal who'd been been on the cast of Saturday Night Live, and her whole act was vulgarity, and we all just sat there, and it wasn't funny, And the thing is, I have often found that I say to my students when I'm coaching them, I'll say, if you want to play drama, play it seriously. If you want to play comedy, play it more seriously about something that isn't serious, And there are so many ways to be truly funny. I mean, if you look back, pre our generation, but Red Skelton, Bob Hope. I'm a big fan of Bob Hope. I lived only a mile away from him in Toluca Lake. In fact, I wrote an article about Bob Hope for United Press International when Pope John Paul II died, because I talked about how I thought it was ironic that Bob Hope, when he was entertaining the troops during World War II and afterwards, Korea and Vietnam and everything, his press agent was named William Faith. And I thought it was so interesting that faith preceded hope, as he was in a war zone.
You just needed a guy named Love at the end of it.
Yeah, right. But faith before hope. And because everybody, was always talking about their self-esteem, and I want to hope I'll do it. Well, no, you got to have the faith first. And it's true in comedy too. And to not try so hard. Some people try so hard, and life is funny enough. I mean, as I said, if I said, "Give me a second here," while you went to something else, and I came here, and the cleaning lady was sitting here going, "All right, let's talk," and, there are things right in front of you. And so we talk in the workshop with comedy monologues, how characters, how personalities, are funny. I produced a show a few years ago called Famous Couples Through History, the comedy version. And I'd written a piece about Antony and Cleopatra preparing to die when the Romans are getting ready to come and take them back in chains. And so the whole bit was I'm putting on my makeup, and Mark Antony is going, "Will you hurry it up? Come on, they're going to be here in just a second, and we gotta go commit suicide before they get here." So the lines are funny and everything, but I knew myself, I'm saying, "I'll be with you," and I was playing like me. But then all of a sudden I thought of the kind of Judy Holliday type character in Born Yesterday and in Singing in the Rain. "The characters would be like this," and I'd say, "Anthony, I'll be with you in a minute. Okay? I want to get my makeup just right, because when they find me, I want to look good when Octavius comes in, And all of a sudden it lifted it. The idea that, Cleopatra talked like that.
Like she's from Long Island. Yeah.
Like she's from Long Island. Right.
I do. I don't know why, but I gravitate a lot of like the Brooklyn Italian kind of vibe when I talk. When I talk New York, what I'm saying? Forget about it. I mean, get a little New Jersey in there while I'm at it. You know what I'm saying? Like I do that sometimes with my dad. My father and I, we will talk hours, and most of the time is garbage. It's just nonsense. But we will do it in weird accents. We just come up with weird stuff, and it's so fun. My father and I have been so good together when we get that. But we lose everybody that's around us.
But that son-father thing is an important relationship.
It was a solid, important relationship. Yeah,
very, very important.
But his parents, my grandparents, his parents, like I think you mentioned it in your comedy workshop, that try to do it in your grandmother's accent or name
as a family member. Exactly.
I love that, and I took that. I was like, wow, that's really cool, because I do that anyways. I'll do my grandmother on my mother's side, and I'll do my grandmother on my dad's side various times in life. Like, you want some butter,
and like you're telling a story about them. The gal who does the Progressive commercials, she's doing Flo. She's doing her mother. That's not her personality at all.
She does all the characters, like her family.
She does all those characters,
She's hilarious.
And it's funny, we were talking about the New York,
Yeah.
accent. I did a little comedy sketch with my younger kids where we did a takeoff on The Godfather, and
Uh-huh.
we called it the Fairy Godmother. And so the little girl was the fairy godmother, and she had Paulie and Joey, and she said,
That's funny.
let's bring in the stepsisters now. We'll explain things to them. And the stepsisters going, forget about it, forget about it. I'm surprised I didn't get complaints from the parents. This one girl said, oh no, my mother had me watch The Godfather. And I said, not the whole thing. And she goes, no, just a little bit so I could get the
Get an idea, a little education, right?
yeah, but accent, and there's so many fun things you can do that is family friendly. And one thing I always tell my students, whether it's comedy or drama, to do an audition monologue for, they ask for demo links, to do something that is right for not only HBO, but Hallmark. It's got to be general. HBO is edgier, Hallmark's not, and you just got to have a something that's like a business card.
Hmm.
It's works for all, family friendly.
Right. Yeah, I want to stick to that. We do have a lot, pretty much everywhere too, but this town is very big in like horror flicks or paranormal, that kind of thing. And
Right.
and I know that's a big thing in a lot of other places too, but it was predominant here, and there was no faith-based anything going on here. As a matter of fact, one filmmaker was discouraged from doing faith-based films,
Hmm.
not necessarily because of here, but because of the faith-based community, because what he was doing was a little edgier. So
Yeah.
at any rate, the point is, I know my calling. I'm here to stir up the gifts of the gospel in people and the community of film, to try to inspire them to do it for God. And the ones
Okay.
that are Christians, to just activate those people that are talented, that are sitting on the talent, waiting for somebody to do something for them. Say, listen, just do it. Get up and
That's
do
right.
it. And this film festival has done that. I didn't do it, but because God put it in my heart to do it,
Well,
what He's
that's the
done
thing.
through it has been inspiring people.
Exactly right.
So
And you're doing a great job, Shawn. God bless you.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
You bet. You bet.
So how are you doing on time? You got a lot of
I'm
stuff.
I'm good. We can go. We've been going on here, but I'm just encouraging. I don't know how many people you got out there watching the podcast, but I encourage them all to come to the festival.
Well, we are, like I said, I
What are the
just
dates of the festival going to be?
right now I'm looking at I think August 4th through the 7th.
Okay, great.
Let's just make sure I got that on the website, because I think I did. Yeah, I got it right here.
That's
So
perfect because that's right when my
3rd through
acting
7th.
classes go on hiatus for August. So that's great.
Well, that's
Really looking forward to it.
it's kind of like a weird time, because some people will travel up north no problem because it's nicer up here, and it is. But Western New
Beautiful.
York is beautiful in the summer. But a lot of times people are doing projects in the summer, so some people can't come because of that. So we're gonna possibly adjust, the timing of when we're gonna do this
Well,
someday.
you're
But
going to
yeah,
have a good turnout. You're going to have a good turnout. As I said, I've been talking it up. A lot of folks.
beautiful. I appreciate that.
You bet.
Well, we're talking you up too, to return and bring what you bring to the table.
Looking
There's
forward to it.
we're gonna do something. I have a good plan, and we're gonna be kind of working in conjunction with the secular uh, places in town of the comedy festival, the comedy places. There's a place that does improv on Monday nights, and then there's a place that Helium nightclub, which is a popular place around the country, where all the comics will come in town. So we
Great.
want to do a clean comedy workshop or something there,
Love
and
it.
do something that's outside of the church walls, because that's how we're going to reach people, in my opinion.
Exactly. To draw, interest people in.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, all right.
Great.
Well, I will let you go, because I know you're a busy lady. You do a lot of stuff, and even to get you on this call was kind of like, okay, fit in your schedule. So
And I can come back.
I appreciate it. Oh, you're going to come back, I'm sure, several times.
I want
We're,
to.
we're going to have a lot to talk about. We got a lot more to discuss as far as plans, projects I have in mind. So
Wonderful.
let's do it. So
And
Cheryl
please
Felicia
give
Rhoads.
a shout of hello to your family for me.
Absolutely. And what I want to do though is I want to make sure people know how to contact you
Sure.
in case they want to get in touch or they want to
Yeah, because I do
whatever.
online. I do online lessons too. Yeah, I can give my email. My website is www.cherylrhoads.com, and that's CHERYLRHOADS. I'm reading off there like Cheryl, you know your name, cherylrhoads.com. Our offices are 703-536-5786, and I do, particularly, since the pandemic too, I do both in person and online lessons. So definitely do that, and I'll definitely see you in August, whatever dates you land on. Yes, and there's my
There's your
website,
website.
my upcoming
And
classes. I'm doing famous characters in history, and
oh, cool. Funny
yeah.
thing is, I was talking to one of the associate pastors in our church um, yesterday for our little lunch, and we had a skit idea that we're going to work on, and it's basically m- the Victorian age. Okay, we're going to be speaking like Old English, all that stuff, but we're talking in it like a sermon, and it's going to be about the story of how uh, the new wine needs new wine skins.
Ah,
So we have to go 300 years in the past, to really drive the point ahead. Like, the old wine is not going to, you know, be well. And the new wine that comes in has to have new wine skins
right.
so that it doesn't expand and blow up. So, anyways, that was our idea. We threw some ideas around as far as little skits we'll do for sermon.
Well,
That's
and now you can free up a little space in your brain to work on that now that you've
yes.
had your graduation, which is so exciting.
Now I don't have to work on projects that instructors tell me to do. Now I'm free to do whatever, and I'm
Do your
happy
own
about
deal.
that.
Well,
So
God bless you, Shawn. You're a
Cheryl
good
Felicia
man.
Rhoads, you're awesome. I'm so glad I made a connect with you, and I'm
Me
so
too with you.
glad that we had you at our festival last year. So if anybody, I mean, anywhere around the country, if you do come to the festival, I encourage you to come just to see this lady here, just exclusively to watch this lady for her amazing display of how to improv, how to act, and she'll even critique you uh lovingly, right?
Lovingly, because lovingly, because the thing is, one of the things I always tell my students to think, and a friend of mine in LA was mentioning, I guess I've been saying a long time, always to think, how can I help? How can I be of service? That's like the title of the
Yeah.
movie, Of Service. How can I be of help? And that's the thing. There are too many directors or producers, you can tell sometimes when it's the ego trip of, oh, well, an ego, I was taught a long time ago, stands for edging God out.
Mm,
And you want to be of service and helping people. Well, try this. Here's a suggestion for this. And but also, if actors will think, how can I be of help when you go to an audition? Because the
mhm.
producers are trying to get their casting problem solved. They're trying to. So I'm here to help you. And if I'm not right for this project, people will sense that energy,
Yep.
and will be drawn to you. And again, just like we got drawn to each other in Orlando.
Yep.
So anyway,
You know,
thank you
you're
so
right.
much.
You're right. I just want to piggyback. Don't get discouraged if you're not selected for something. You're
That's
just
right.
not the right fit. That's
That's
not
right.
that's not meaning that you're not talented or you're not skilled.
That's right.
It just means that, one person said, I was doing a music supervision or supervisor type thing for some project, and I was submitting a lot of good stuff that could be good for the film, but the way he described it was it's not quite perfect, but I like it. Like it was a good critique of what I was submitting, but some things are just not quite perfect for the
But
vision of the
also,
director.
there are other steps that
Hmm.
sometimes God has to put in place.
Sure.
It's, I remember a priest friend used to say, God always says yes. He sometimes says yes right away, and sometimes he says yes, but wait.
Hmm.
And sometimes he says, yes, but I have an even better idea.
Mm-hmm.
And
Right.
and I've kept that in mind.
I am.
Well, anyway,
I'm huge on God's timing.
God's timing.
I believe in that. So thank you so much, Cheryl,
All
for
right.
joining me on the show. You know, we do blast this out, and we will have people watch it later. We're on YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter live when we do this. But
Well,
we'll
good, because
also
I can send it to some people who wanted to watch it today, but
very good, very good.
hold
And
on
they can
tight
always comment and call, and they can leave a
and all that.
message, and we can share that with you later. So,
All
all
right.
right, get back
God
to your
bless you.
day. Enjoy. Thank
I
you so
will.
much for joining me.
Okay.
God bless.
Thank you for having me. Bye-bye.
Cheryl Felicia Rhoads, what an awesome lady. So happy to have met her. She was a phenomenal workshop presenter. She's a very gifted communicator. She's a very gifted instructor. Not only that, she's very personable with people, and you just feel like you're at home when you talk to her. So I encourage you to all come to the Great Lakes Christian Film Festival this summer. We are planning to bring her back. And if anybody that's been there, they will tell you that was a great workshop. We do when we do bring people to our events. I believe that we bring the best. We don't bring people that kind of would like to do something. We bring people who have done something that will bring to the table something for everybody who's interested. So just because of her connection to Second City, people were interested in being a part of it. So I encourage you to come for that reason too. There's a lot of reasons why you should come. But at any rate, thank you for watching another episode, Shawn P. Greene Show. I am Shawn P. Greene. Go to Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, all them. Just go to ShawnPGreene.com, and you'll see all my links, all the places if you want to contribute financially. There's places to link to PayPal, Patreon, which I'm just relaunched again. So we're going to build that up again. Cash App, Venmo, if you want to support in any way. Looking forward to shouting you out if you want. Also, we have the Google Voice. Leave a message, and we can play that on an air later. So rest of this week we got coming up. I have possibly tomorrow I have a special guest. We don't know yet. That's going to be on the we're not sure exactly how that's going to work out yet. So special guest tomorrow, possibly, maybe live. And then Thursday, you definitely want to watch this week. That will be, today is March 1st. So you're talking March 3rd. You definitely want to be live. I have a special guest, former Buffalo police officer, and currently an Orthodox priest in Niagara Falls. I think that would be an exciting conversation we'll have. We might even get into a lot of church history, some stories about Buffalo, in the 80s, maybe 90s, something like that. Whenever he was a cop, we'll just go it that way. But he's a priest now, travels the world with his family, and I'll talk about what the connection is I have with him. But you got to come on the show live Thursday, March 3rd. But you can join me tomorrow. We'll talk about whatever. And I do want to mention that yesterday, I think the show was blocked on YouTube because I played the Star Spangled Banner with Whitney Houston. So I do have that on Twitch, and I have it on Twitter, and I think that's still available. We'll find that out in a second. But it's a great show yesterday. I'm also now on Rumble. Let's see what we got here. I have no money on Rumble yet. All right, so let's see what I got. Okay, so I'm finally on Rumble. I think I have a profile page. At any rate, here I am. Here's my Rumble. I put 2 videos up as a test. 2 or 3 views. Okay, but I was just playing around. One's like a little snippet that I did Facebook Live, and then the other one's like a little tutorial that I did, which you're not really gonna learn nothing. Okay, it's just a test. I'm testing a lot of things over the last 5 years, and now I'm starting to implement some things. So here we go. ShawnPGreene.com. You definitely want to be a part of what's happening on my show. I got some great people coming on. You don't know where we're going, so you got to keep in tune. And you don't know if I'll ever cut my hair. Maybe that be one of those Patreon things that you donate so much money, I will cut my hair live on the air. So, but yeah, Cheryl Felicia Rhoads, she's coming this year again to Great Lakes Christian Film Festival, glcff.com, hashtag GLCFF 2022. And right now, content 2022 is happening in Dallas. International Christian Film Festival is coming up in May, and ours will be August 3rd through 7th, tentatively. That's what we're looking at. So we are planning all the details, and we're looking come back to East Aurora. So I want you all check that out when you get a chance. If you are a filmmaker, submit. I keep pointing the wrong direction. Submit glcff.com. In the meantime, go to my website, ShawnPGreene.com, for all the links. For every link, social media that I have active right now. I just got onto this new thing, Getter, and I think I just discovered it because all these conservative videos that were from CPAC this past weekend down in Orlando. I just started my own little website. So, here's the Shawn P. Greene show that it's blocked right now, but maybe they'll allow me to put it on a link. I don't know. YouTube is tough, man. I got a lot of Chinese people follow me on Getter, and I don't understand that. I don't know where they come from. So Getter is a new social media, Rumble, and then I have a Gab account. Okay, got my contact info for film festival. Okay, link to stuff. I got a Tumblr. I'm gonna redo that. I got a Facebook, obviously. Link of MySpace. I still got. Why am I still holding on to MySpace? Tom has abandoned us, and I'm still holding on to MySpace. I got an Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn. If you want to know my professional things, TikTok, which is here's something that I just discovered. I did a little thing of the snow outside, and I got over 1,000 views, which I would have never expected that. But it's on my TikTok, so I don't have really nothing fancy on there. So follow me. You can follow me or subscribe to me or whatever it is. Send money, watch videos, subscribe, watch or listen to audio, subscribe, check out the blogs, and check out my background in the film world right now, the independent side of the film world. And every Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard through Friday. Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard. The Shawn P. Greene Show, ShawnPGreene.com. That's ShawnPGreene.com. Because you can spell it wrong. You can spell it SeanPegreen. You can spell it wrong. That's the wrong way, not to confuse you. So, but I will have a break next weekend, not this coming up, but the following weekend. So tune in now while it's live, and call when you get a chance. Come on, leave a message. ShawnPegreen.com. Thanks for watching. Enjoy the rest of your day. Just keep it locked.